we have five fundamentals of a value-based hiring process. So we wanted to go over the five fundamentals, and then also importantly, how those who are not on the search committee are involved in the process. So Katrina, you want to take us through the five fundamentals?
Yeah, and you'll have heard us talk about these and to these throughout the video here today. Transparency. So we endeavor to be grounded in how are we opening up this process as we move through. So that is conversations amongst the search committee. How do we commit to being, we're not having off the side conversations with certain members of the hiring committee. We're having the engaging the hiring committee in the same, conversation. So that's one way. Transparency with the candidates is another way. And so what can we tell candidates? How do we front load them with information that may be pertinent to their, understanding of the role or their understanding of what it would mean to take the role for them? That's including things like salary information or benefits or information about the kind of team that they're coming into and things like that. But then there's also this other thing around the organization, those members who aren't a part of the hiring committee or the selection committee. How do we continue to keep the organization informed so that the rigor of the process and the learning and the progress even that's happening as you move through, that ability to celebrate and continue to include and inform members of the team at large, so that we continue to build trust in this process. So at all kind of angles, with all of the who's that are involved in this at some point or another, really wanting to pay attention to transparency. I think the other, another big one is curiosity. And so if you approach candidates and their connection to the key anchors, the knowledge, skills, and abilities, the opportunity of the role, instead of candidate against candidate, you're allowed to be curious in a different way about the role, the opportunity itself, the team that's taking shape, the way that this person might interact in the organization. Instead of carrying old stories, right, or old assumptions or somebody else's, the way somebody else is stacking up in the process. Really just encouraging openness and that curiosity. We talked about the highly structured process, that no freelancing rule. Like, this is, again, in service of consistency, because we can be more equitable, more inclusive in the search process if we're honoring that consistency, that each candidate, as they interact with the committee and the process, has a consistent experience, that one interview builds consistently on another interview and the next one. And so that helps us to reduce bias. It also helps us in creating those trusting relationships. You're not springing things on people. You're not, having them prepare for something and then changing course at the last minute, those kinds of things. Hiring committee also, like if you're joining this committee, we're really valuing what you're bringing into it. And so really encouraging you to use your voice, find your voice, hear other voices, bring in, challenges or assumptions that you're making, so that the hiring committee can really talk about that and really use different perspectives to the full benefit in our sense making about how to move the process forward. And then we've talked about this as we've moved through this video, just this idea of constantly being aware of how power is being distributed in this process, how you're showing up, how the committee is showing up with candidates, how we're allowing candidates to show up in this process as well, just to promote that sense of safety, to be proactive about how we're creating the environment that we're asking people on the outside of the organization to come in, but also allowing for this to be safe space within the organization, that selection committee, to really do that reimagining, that sort of futuring work that this process allows us to engage in.